Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. America, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javanokelo, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Greetings, beautiful people. Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode of the African Father in America podcast. I am so excited to be here with you, especially because I have a really special guest. I have an incredible sister and friend and and someone that I consider an innovator, someone who is breaking a lot of barriers and literally moving mountains currently when it comes to innovation. And I'm speaking about Melissa Perkins, who is the force behind You Think Indigo. And You Think Indigo is a think tank that is actually helping a lot of organizations, helping leaders, and transforming the world from here in the US to Asia to Nigeria to many parts of Africa. Hopefully Kenya is coming soon to your list, Melissa. How are you doing today?
I'm excited. They're my favorite Kenyan. I am determined to make sure that we are in Kenya for sure. It is an honor to be here, Simon.
Yeah, wonderful. Yes, it's definitely an honor to have you on the show as well. And I want to welcome everyone who is joining us on Clubhouse, and I also see people joining us on YouTube. Please make sure you share the link to this conversation, the link to this video, share it with your community, the link to this Clubhouse room. Make sure you share it with your community as well. Some of you who are joining us for the first time are probably wondering, why are these people doing this video right now? And we are here because we love African proverbs and we love uplifting our ancestors. Every day we gather here and we share African proverbs in order to just remind ourselves of who we are, where we came from, and also where we are going. We discover that through discussing these beautiful African proverbs consistently. So today we have an amazing proverb from Sudan. I actually want to add it to the top of the room on Clubhouse. Many of you on Clubhouse, you know Melissa. If you don't know Melissa, you should come and see her face. She's with me live on YouTube right now. And I'm adding the link right at the top of the room so that you can all join us there. And then I'll share the proverb, and then I'll share the 3 nuggets of wisdom for today's session. And then we want to hear what Melissa has to say about this proverb. And then we will learn a story about Melissa, especially a childhood story that inspires her as a leader, something that keeps Melissa, moving. Whenever you go to the platforms where Melissa is talking about You Think Indigo and some of the initiatives that they're doing, you will really feel the passion. So I want to first of all share with you that our proverb is from Sudan. Sudan is an incredible country. And I haven't been to Sudan. I've been to South Sudan. I've been to the border of South and North Sudan. And this proverb is really widespread. You can hear it in many parts of the motherland. It says that if nakedness promises you a piece of cloth, ask him his name. If nakedness promises you a piece of cloth, ask him his name. That's going to be our proverb for today. And I just quickly want to share with you the 3 nuggets of wisdom that were inspired by this proverb. Before I do that, I just want to welcome Kiden. Kiden, nice to see you. And I see my brother Rushi, brother Earth, and Cabs. And I also see Roger. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from Singapore. Roger, thank you. And now to our first nugget of wisdom. It says that people are not always what they seem, Don't be quick to trust someone based on appearances alone. I want you to note that. Number 2, judge people based on their actions and not their words, It's so easy for people to say things on social media, but then do they really follow through? And then number 3, always be cautious when making deals with strangers. Yeah, always be cautious when making deals with strangers, because even if you go to my latest Instagram post about this proverb, you will find someone saying there how they earned £76,000, and then they tag another account that they earned that money from. So I was just joking with this stranger and saying, why are you announcing such amount of money publicly? You should be enjoying it somewhere else, So it's just, we are just living in a world where it's really, really important for you to pay attention to, how you deal with strangers, to pay attention to what you see and how you respond to it. But importantly, to listen to what this proverb has to say, So I want to bring on my wonderful guest, Melissa Perkins. And for those who are meeting Melissa for the first time, I'm telling you, she's just an incredible human being. I met with her before she started You Think Indigo. She was running a different educational platform, and she's always transforming children's lives here in the US. And I'm just so grateful that you've extended the work that you do to the rest of the world, especially Africa. And I was really, really proud to see that almost 90% of your team is Nigeria. I want to see a Sudanese there. I want to see Kenyans there. Talk to us, Melissa. Share with us what this proverb means to you. If nakedness promises you a piece of cloth, ask him his name. What does it mean to you?
It means that expect those who want to give you something to show you the way, to show you by example. In our community, we call that a way shower. Be a way shower, because, how can you really offer people something that you're not really applying to yourself? And I think it's a beautiful, beautiful proverb and a beautiful reminder for me personally to be the principles that I want to share with the world. Make sure that you verify that the person who's trying to give you something, that they actually have used it themselves, And so I love the proverb. I love all the proverbs that come from the motherland. It's just proof of the high intelligence that has always been there.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, be the way shower, don't talk about things that you can't do, try to learn how to do something before you start talking about it. I love that. And, just continuing on with our conversation, if you're joining us for the first time, this is the African Father in America podcast, and we are live streaming on YouTube. And I would love for you to subscribe if you haven't. And also give this video a thumbs up. It's really, really important for YouTube algorithm, the thumbs up and all those, actions that you can take on YouTube are really, really, really appreciated. And a lot of the time, if you've been watching this show for a while, you hear me talking about one of the stories that inspire me as a leader. And one of the things that helped me discover who I am as really a human being is when I was around 8 years old, my mother gave me a bicycle and, gave me an opportunity to distribute milk and bread in our neighborhood. And since then, I've always learned how to live with other people, how to be an entrepreneur, how to earn an honest living in any community I go to, because there is always an opportunity to serve, but also to get paid to serve. And so I want you, Melissa, share with us your own story. Maybe a story from when you are 8 to 12. It doesn't really matter, but something that whenever you remember, you feel like getting out of bed and going after the amazing work that you do.
Well, in the book that I launched August 1st called The Indigo Approach, I open with a vignette from my childhood. So this is such an appropriate question. And I talk about myself, my 5-year-old self, and her name is Bubbly Brown. And I remember having a vivid imagination when I was 5 years old. And I was given the freedom to explore my mind and explore what I do. I watched my parents. They were my way showers. I observed them. They were my first teachers. And I watched my mom and I watched my teachers too. And I wanted to imitate them because they made me feel good. And I think children reveal, who their way showers are because they start to imitate them. Because we don't typically do things we don't feel good about, for play. And I call the segment elevated play. And so I would play and model, and you could see the seedlings of who I would become. Because one of my favorite things to play was school teacher. And I would line up my stuffed animals, and I got in trouble one time for turning my closet into a chalkboard. That wasn't clever. But aside from that, it was fun for me to do that. And I think, I use that story to inform where I am today. I channel that amazing 5-year-old now in terms of elevating how I play. I play with my company. I play with the ideas. When you talk about innovation, my innovation comes from that creative force within me that I started cultivating when I was a little girl.
I could just continue listening. I didn't know you were done. Yeah, innovation. I was reading a tweet earlier today from this gentleman that tweets a lot about startups, and he was speaking about how a lot of startups get a lot of money put into them, and it's a demonstration of how our world today loves to throw money at problems. For example, a bigger problem that we are all facing in the world right now is the war in Ukraine. And the Ukrainian president is asking the rest of the world, send us money and weapons, So a lot of money is being thrown at that problem. So at the very beginning, it was all about money and weapons, but there was no, invite all the elders from Russia and Ukraine who are not politicians so that we can talk and figure out what's going on, I think that would be an interesting approach. But back to our conversation here. I want you to speak to what you do with You Think Indigo. I feel that this is a really cutting edge approach to consulting and to this concept of, having a think tank. So I want you to just take us back to, the educational platform that you used to run,
Yes.
and then bring us to where you are and also where you're trying to go. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, I would say my beginnings began with an amazing company called Blue Star Virtual Learning. That was what gave birth to You Think Indigo. And it was inspired by one of my best friends and her need as a homeschool mom to have a customized learning program that suited her going back to work. And we have thousands of homeschool parents around not only this country, but around the globe who are taking the learning experience of their children and their family in their own hands. And so I cultivated a program that really helped empower parents, support them. We weren't a school, and we weren't tutors. We literally were a support system. And so for a lot of families, they want to do great things with their children, but they're very stressed and they don't feel that their kids are really allowed to be themselves and to really tap into their, innate intelligence. And so I was able to create an amazing program globally to help parents to do that. Well, in the midst of starting this company, we decided to, try to really pursue be getting, some federal recognition for what we do, officially. And in that process, it was just discovered that our name was very similar to other businesses, and we didn't want to cause any confusion or disharmony or issues. And so we just took the cue that it was time to innovate and really work on our name. And that provided a unique opportunity for me. So we, of course, met on Clubhouse, and Clubhouse is an amazing platform. And I have been doing some rooms talking about what it is to be young, gifted, and Black, and particularly about being an indigo, which is the type of learner that I am. I'm a highly intuitive learner who's able to process information quite quickly. And so I'm a particular type of learner that you don't typically hear about a lot in the African American community or even African community, but I think there's many of us there. I think many of us have intuitive gifts. And it's not always understood. So people want to kind of put you in boxes, and they want to say, oh, you're psychic, or you're doing this, or you're violating religious principles, or different. There's a lot of confusion and fear around the unknown sometimes in our communities. And fortunately for me, my mother had the wherewithal to have me tested at Duke University. They had a research center for children who were just exceptional learners and just learned differently. And so I was studied for a little bit. And my results came back, I think, a bit inconclusive because they weren't really focusing on my particular type of gifting or ability. But at least it gave me a sense to know that I was special. Now, my parents, they had two other children, and their focus was keeping us well fed and well loved, and supported as best that they could. But they never really pursued really trying to understand who I was and how I learned. And I did what most children do who learn differently. You just adapt, and you learn how to survive school. And I did, and I thrived. I was very successful in school. I was a above average student, and I graduated with a lot of the first this and the first that. I was the first African American in the National Honor Society for my school. I was a minority, of course, but I had a lot of first. But I still wasn't cultivated. I still learned differently. And how I specifically learned, Simon, is that I have an innate ability I'm very sensitive to energy. When I'm around a person or situation, I see the energy of it. And I immediately neurologically process it into a grid, and I crunch probability. And so it's kind of, I always say it's more akin to, like, if you ever saw the old movie Rain Man um, with Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman. And he had a brother who had autism, and he could crunch numbers and probability. They went to a casino and wiped it out, pretty much. I would say that is more aligned to kind of what I'm able to do, except mine is much more driven by, being around people's energy. And it's taken me some time to understand my ability and my gifting, and to not allow other people to tell me what it is and put me into boxes. And it can be something that can be a bit unnerving to some people because I can perceive things and discern things and put things together a little quickly about a situation or even them that can throw them off. Like, how would I know that? But I've had to learn, and thank goodness for the Indigo Approach that I wrote this summer, because that book first helped me. And that's why your proverb is so befitting. Because before I could really go out and tell the world about the Indigo Approach, I had to use it on myself. I had to really apply it to my own life. And the first thing that the Indigo Approach did for me was liberated me. It helped me to feel empowered as an intellectual, as an intelligent being. It had me stop comparing myself to other people. It taught me that there is no competition, that I'm just really here to learn and explore and uncover Melissa. And it also helped me to really meet some of the most incredible people I've ever met in the world, which is my team. I quickly, because people started reading the book, they wanted to join the movement. And we have a mantle of 1.4 billion people to reach by 2025 throughout the planet with this philosophy because it's a liberating philosophy. I also received an inner nudge to make membership in my community complimentary so that nobody on the planet will not be encouraged to be their most highest intellectual self, particularly children. We serve everyone. So it doesn't matter what age you are, we serve you in this community. We serve individuals, we serve families, and we especially serve organizations, like yourself, to help you all really tap into your innate higher intelligence. So many people base their intelligence on an IQ test or grades in schools or what a university tells you your GPA is. And we are here to liberate people from that modality. We're not here to debunk it or say that it's wrong, but we're here to offer another view, another approach, another way to come at intellectual discoveries within yourself. And what's also a nice little bonus is we're melanated. We are African American founded. We are a company that says that we want to make sure we have a presence in different countries in Africa. And we put our words into action by actually opening our first international virtual office after rebrand in Lagos, Nigeria. And that is just the beginning. And this is very strategic on my part as an owner because I feel the world a lot of times comes at melanated people as if we're not intelligent, as if we have to go through Eurocentric mindsets to confirm who we are. And so I'm very, very delighted as a global think tank to shift this mindset and to help people to appreciate African proverbs, for example, to appreciate that since antiquity, people who look like us have always been leaders in intellectual discoveries. And in fact, many people from what is considered today Europe would come and study at the feet of African griots and scholars and take it back to their respective countries. So I'm here to remind people that we have always been, people who look like me have always been a part of the higher level philosophical conversations. And I am and do proudly proclaim myself as a philosopher. So if you know who Socrates is, Aristotle is, you now know who Melissa Perkins is.
I love that. Melissa, I should interview you more. I feel like we should have more conversations. You're such a well-spoken, leader, and your accomplishments, and also the way you are humble as you share the work that you do, which is really, really cutting edge, is incredible. So I just want you to know that you are honored and valued and deeply appreciated.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I see that we have a lot of friends joining us here on YouTube. You are all deeply, deeply appreciated. I would love for you to make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you're enjoying this conversation, please give this video a thumbs up and also leave us a comment. Let us know where in the world you're joining us from. We would really, really appreciate that. And also, if you are with us on Clubhouse, thank you. Clubhouse is the platform that Melissa and I connected through. And Melissa, I want you to speak about your team. You have an incredible team at You Think Indigo. And I just want you to take a minute, speak about how you are able to mobilize your team through Clubhouse.
Absolutely, I do. They are more than my team. They are my family. Going through the process of discovering, and not discovering, but reclaiming my gifting, my ability to probability grid, was really jolting for me. I actually had a little insecurity about it. I was like, how will the world perceive me? And when I brought forth the Indigo approach, we had to restructure this entire company. So what we were doing, the beautiful work we did in Blue Star Virtual Learning kind of was retired, so to speak, and we had to start anew. And so we literally had to rebuild the company from the ground up. And I had this amazing experience where a woman named Sheila New came into one of my rooms on Clubhouse. I started this club called Indigo Thinkers International. And during the tenure of this club, or the early tenure of this club, I would have rooms just revealing what the indigo approach was. And at the time, it was actually in a Google Doc. It wasn't even in ebook form. And so I was just pulling excerpts from it and putting it on the web and just sharing it in rooms. And Sheila New came by and watched and immediately resonated with it and became our first investor in our company. She just came in and she brought not only her coin, but she brought her soul. She brought her mind. She brought her talent. She brought her commitment. She gave a commitment. And that just sparked a wave of incoming people to come and support. And these are people that I call them very foundational to our organization. Excuse me, I must say, this is not the first time I've had this experience. We've had this type of phenomenon happen ever since I started the company. So there were people before, Sheila. I specifically want to note Christelle Brewer, who came in and helped me lead Blue Star Virtual Learning, an absolutely incredible woman who helped me to run that company. Just phenomenal. She remains on our advisory council with Youth Inc. Indigo. But Sheila New came in when we revamped and restarted everything, and she became not only our first investor, but our president of the company. She's hands-on. And then we eventually we also retained, I should also mention Jada GB. She was our CEO at Blue Star Virtual Learning. She came over and remains our CEO at You Think Indigo. And Jade was there from the very beginning when I started Blue Star. I started in her home, and she personally has given not only of herself, but of her resources to make sure that we are afloat and that we are able to accomplish some big feats. And so she stayed here, and she is the reason we have an ebook. She designed it and helped us to put this philosophy into form. We then got the incredible Gozi Asawan of Lagos, Nigeria. He came in first as the director of operations, and then he came in as our president. And then he's helping us to build a great team there in Lagos that we hope will be a way shower for all the other countries like Kenya. We will definitely have Kenya in other countries. Ghana, we would love to have Ghana as well. And no competition over jollof rice, though. That's the only thing I ask. We're not competing over who has the best jollof rice. Everybody's jollof rice will be eaten by me and enjoyed and savored. But all that to say, the team has just been amazing. We have Wanda Rose, who's our COO, who came in from Win Strategic and just has been phenomenal. It's just been absolutely mind-blowing. My right hand, left hand, feet is this beautiful soul named Aiseta Asante. She's our executive director, and she's like our puppet master. So she helped coordinate and make sure that I was here today on time. So she is, really kind of my spinoff brainchild for the company. She's absolutely incredible. And all of my entire executive team, from Daphne Phillip to Michelle Woolfolk, to Will Baptiste, who's our chief of global outreach. I just can't name enough. We have several who are coming in to support what we do. The portrait behind me inspired our logo, and the mother of the artist is actually our head, or our director rather, of home-based learning. That's Tyra Hunter. And then we have Lucretia. Lucretia is actually helping us with school-based operations as well. So we just have a beautiful team that's developing and that's forming. And I can't say enough about them, Simon. As you can see, I love them.
Yeah.
And they're sowing in their time, in their energy, and their resources.
Right.
Because we are a startup. We are a startup company, and we're just getting off the ground, and we're self-funded. And so I can't tell you enough my gratitude for how they've come in to support and bring their own resources in.
That's part of why I wanted you to specifically speak about the incredible work that your team is doing, but also to just take a moment and reflect and give them a shout out. So if anyone of Melissa's team members are watching, I also appreciate you, and I've seen the growth, and I applaud you all. Melissa, we want to help. One of the things that I love to do here in the African Father in America podcast is for my audience members to help, to help, especially with people who are doing great things like what you're doing. So I want you to, just think about how we can help. What action can we take by the end of the show today? So think about that. But for now, I want us to hear a few voices. I want to bring on a few of our speakers who have joined us on the stage to comment on our conversation, and also to comment on today's proverb from Sudan. So take a pen and notepad if you have one, or just listen and grab some of the nuggets that we are going to hear from the guests who are on stage. So if you're just joining us, my name is Simon Okello, and I love hosting the Daily African Proverbs. And today's proverb is, if nakedness promises you a piece of cloth, ask him his name. This is from Sudan. So I want to hear what Lavender has to say about this proverb briefly. And also, Lavender, let us know where in the world you're joining us from. And feel free to comment on the conversation we are having here with Melissa. Thank you so much.
Hi, Simon. Thank you, everyone. Melissa, it's amazing for you to be our main speaker today. This is Lavender. I'm speaking from Seattle, Washington. And my thoughts about today's proverb: if nakedness promises you a piece of cloth, ask him his name. Um, what comes to mind is we should be watchful of what people tell us and promise us and offer us, because I tend to believe you can never offer what you don't have. This is Lavender, and I'm complete.
Thank you so much, Lavender. I appreciate you. And if you're just joining us on Clubhouse for the first time and you don't know Lavender and Stella, who are on the stage, they're part of my team at One Vibe, and I would love you to follow them and stay connected with them, especially if you want to be a guest on the show. They're the people who will give you, the details, and will ensure that you're also featured like we are featuring Melissa today. But I want to go to my brother Rushi, who is really, really an incredible supporter of the work that we are doing here. Brother Rushi, where are you today? And what are your thoughts on this conversation or the proverb for today?
No worries. Thanks, Simon. I am calling from Charleston, South Carolina. I think a lot of people don't know that the best jollof rice is actually comes from here, but that's a
I'm in
different
North
debate.
Carolina, so
But
shout
the
out. I can
proverb is
confirm.
it's a great one. It's a great one. I think it really just says to us that just be mindful of what we receive. And I think I'll leave it at that. I'm really enjoying the guest today, so I just want to not say too much and be able to listen. So thank you so much.
You're most welcome. The guest is from North Carolina and you're in South Carolina. So you guys are neighbors,
Yes,
right?
Oh,
yes, we
yes.
are.
And I know the
We
rice. Yes, there is a form
the
of
red rice,
jollof
right?
rice that's in our country.
Yes,
Yes, it is. Agreed.
yes.
That's
She know what I'm
incredible.
talking about.
I sure do.
Well, you guys have to cook it for us, or you have to make sure we test it so that we can prove. But
No
I think
worries, no
I,
Absolutely.
worries.
I think the best jollof rice is actually from Kenya. None of those ones. Pilau is the best. You guys have no idea what you're talking about, but really, pilau is the best. You can ask Stella or Lavender; they might tell you why. Anyhow, Kiden, I'm just so happy that you're here. How are you doing? And what are your thoughts on this conversation with Melissa or today's proverb from Sudan?
Hi, Simon. Thank you so much for having me. I woke up this morning and I saw the message about the proverb. I said, "Oh, this one's interesting," and I kind of like scratched my head thinking, usually I read them and I can get them right away. But this one had me thinking for a little bit longer than usual. So thank you for hosting this space. Melissa, it's nice to hear from you and learn about your work. I think being a Black leader in education is really amazing, and it's also inspiring. So thank you for sharing your work with us. So I am joining you guys from Daytona Beach here in Florida. Uh, so what this proverb really means to me is essentially what everyone else said, like always be cautious of like who's approaching you with something. Ask questions before putting your hope into a person or a project. The two words that really stood out to me were promises and then asks, because I read it over and over again. I said, so as far as promises, I think we're always hearing promises from politicians. They promise you rights or better living. Doctors promise you health. Pharmacists promise you a cure to your problems. Bankers promise you that your money will be safe. And, we're living again in a world where everything's happening so fast and people want you, oh, sign right here or do this or sign up for my course and you'll learn this. And it's just always good to proceed with caution and don't rush into anything you're not 100% sure about. So thank you for this proverb, Simon. I appreciate speaking.
Thank you so much, Kaden. I just love how you broke it down and picked promises and asked us the key words from this proverb, and I can't agree more with your perspectives on it. Thank you. And I want to just quickly go to Brother Earth. Brother Earth, how are you? Where are you joining us from? And what are your perspectives on the proverb or any comment on the conversation with our special guest today?
Peace and love, family. It's Brother Earth. I'm coming from the North Carolina territory, and honest to all the family for the wisdom of the ancestors. And I'm gonna say this: what stood out in the conversation for me is so like right now, a lot of people are looking away from sticking to the traditional Western medicine and going with the more holistic approach, right? More natural approach to it. And I find it to be very inspiring and amazing for her to almost have the same thing, but from the educational standpoint. Not necessarily to depend on the Western education or the Western training, but more so a free form or more of a holistic educational system. I see that could be very beneficial for a lot of people, and I just want to give honors to her for all the work that she's doing. And as far as the proverb, the family pretty much said everything that I was thinking about. It is be weird. Sometimes you have to look beyond the face value of things and see what's the intention or everything that's behind the thing, and not just accepting what's on the surface, because you could be tricked or misled. But it's good to go deeper so you have a understanding of who you're working with, what you up against, or what you're dealing with. I'm gonna park my plane right there, Brother Earth. Peace and love.
Peace and love to you, Brother Earth. I appreciate it. I appreciate you being here. And Melissa is taking note of some of the shares that you're all giving us. And I want to go on to our last contributor to the stage before we come back to our special guest. I want to go to Stella. But before I do that, I just want to give a shout out to Austin, who is joining us, I believe, from Kenya. And I also see we've been joined here by Iwila, and we've been joined by AHD, Duna, and of course we have Cabs, and Jay just joined us, and Roger, and then we have our contributors like Lavender and Rushi and Kiden and Brother Earth, and of course Stella. Hey, whether you're listening or watching, I just want you to know that your presence here means so much to me. And, I can't do this work without you. My team, always meet. We meet consistently outside of this Mondays and Fridays, and one of the things we speak about is our audience, and how unique of a community we are building. So wherever you are, I want you to know that this growth of this platform is because of this time that you're creating. This is the currency that you're adding. This is the payment that you're giving us. And I just want you to know that you are special. Stella, how are you doing? And what are your thoughts on the proverb and the conversation with our guest so far?
Thank you, Simon. Hello, everyone. This is Stella from Kenya. And today's proverb, I think it's kind of a warning against being conned or losing things in a con way. Recently, there's a story that has been making headlines over here in Kenya about a member of parliament who was told by a witch doctor, I think, that they would multiply his money. So he went and sold his land for 76 million Kenya shillings. And then he lost it just like that. The witch doctor told him that he would like triple it. And he believed it. But had he listened to this proverb, then I think it would have warned him. So I think that's the biggest lesson now learning from this proverb. Thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love real life examples like that, Stella. And I also feel that we should always question everything. What this proverb is telling us is just question everything, be stubborn, and even if people are feeling uncomfortable with the amount of questions you're asking, just ask. There's a Kiswahili saying that goes like this: kuuliza sio ujinga. Asking is not being stupid. But in our world these days, when you ask questions, people think you're stupid. When you're at work and you're a newbie and you're asking a lot of questions, those who have been there for long, they feel that you're stupid. But you should know that you are probably the smartest person there, because everybody else is not asking questions. So I just appreciate you, Stella. But now I want to come back to you, Melissa. First, if there's anything you had, hold on for a second. There's a special guest that we are seeing here on YouTube. Her name is Laurel Hill. And Laurel is joining us from New Orleans. We've never had someone from New Orleans joining us for the show, and I just wanted to recognize you and thank you so much. And also Kay Benjamin. Kay, I saw your comment yesterday, and you've been supporting this consistently for at least 1 year, and I just want you to know that I see you. Kay is saying that, who is it that says I am nakedness? Is it God? Is it alignment with my purpose? She's responding to this proverb by just asking questions. Now, Melissa, I'll pass you the microphone so that you can just summarize everything that our speakers and contributors shared. But also, I want you to take a minute and share with us how we can support you, whether it's buying a copy of your book, whether it's going to a certain website. The floor is now yours.
Awesome. Thank you for asking. First and foremost, I just want to thank everybody who participated, who shared. One of my favorite things about being a part of this incredible podcast and community on Clubhouse is to hear the wisdom of others and to hear different perspectives. And just every share just really got me thinking. And that's what I really love about this. This is such a beautiful compliment. Your community is such a beautiful compliment to my work. We're here about thinking. We want people to think and tap into their intellect. And what better way than to start your morning off with a proverb, with an African proverb to be specific? Get you going, And so I just love it, and was really touched by what Stella was saying. Like, wow, this made me think. This made me pause. And I loved how brother pulled out and looked into holistic medicine, and how all of this is just, there's so much happening around people tapping into innate intelligence and who we are. To specifically address your question, if you put a www and a .com in front of the name of my company, it'll take you to a magical place called You Think Indigo. And so that is our website, and you can then identify who you are. We call them avatars. So are you a bloomer, which means that you're in our thinker's garden? Are you a knowledge seeker, which means you actually got a copy of the Indigo Approach, and that can really kick off your journey. And by securing a copy of the Indigo Approach, which is very nominally priced, and it's priced low strategically, we want people to gift it. And we are so happy that so many people gift it. A lot of times people buy multiple copies because it touches them. It enlightens them. It empowers them. It liberates them. And that's why we've made it the price it is, particularly because we understand there's a GDP difference in different parts of Africa specifically. And we didn't want to have a book that was out of reach, because it's imperative to me that as many people get their hands on this book in Africa, in Kenya, in Nigeria, in Ghana, and the Congo, in South Africa, all over. We want you to get this in Zimbabwe and Uganda. So please definitely patron us in that way. The other thing is that we're crowdfunding. We're going to be kicking off a crowdfunding initiative this Friday, and we are looking for what are called pearls. And these pearls are the ones who help us. We call it Follow the Pearls. These are the people who are helping us reach this 1.4 billion. So these are the people who are seeding into the company, giving us some resources to help us to get out the message, the philosophy of the Indigo Approach. And these will be very, very precious people. That's why we call them pearls. And so you could be a natural pearl, you can be a blue pearl or a black pearl, depending on your contribution. And we will generously give to you as well. We love to give. We're a very giving community. And so when you sow into us, we immediately sow into you and your family, because that's just how we are. And that's why there's a thinker's garden that we invite people to come into, because at You Think Indigo, we don't like to ask for anything before we give. That must come from our ancestry. That must come from Africa, I think.
Yes, I love that, and that's what this proverb is saying. Literally, you can't. If nakedness promises you a piece of cloth, ask him his name. Yeah, you can't. Be promising people things that you can't give. This proverb is saying what you're saying. But also there's something special about pearl, and how you're calling the initial investors and contributors pearl. In Kiswahili, pearl means Lulu, and I have a dog called Lulu. We just got Lulu recently. And pearl is also the kind of gem that people share in their 12th year anniversary, marriage anniversary, or the 12th year anniversary of something, So I just wanted to mention that Lulu is pearl. So if you want to use a Swahili word for that category, this is a tip for you. But Melissa, thank you. I've wanted to interview you for a long time, and now I understand why. Now I understand why your presence is deeply appreciated. The work that you do is deeply, deeply appreciated. And for our viewers and our listeners, I hope you're going to go to youthinkindigo.com and support the amazing work that Melissa and her team are doing from North Carolina to Lagos, Nigeria. And I will see you tomorrow for our session. Tomorrow we will have Chioma Sherry, who is an amazing poet. Chioma is always our guest most of Wednesdays. And Melissa, is there anything I didn't ask you that you want to share?
No, there's just nothing but love that I want to give to you in this incredible community. Lavender, thank you so much for, being in communication and showing so much love, to our community. I just really lift this up, and I just want you to know you're doing such an amazing service in the intellectual scope, for the globe, not just Africa, but just to put out African proverbs to keep that tradition going. And we here at You Think Indigo, a global think tank, will build on that. We look forward to partnering with you and building and helping people to go back to, we're all about remembering, not reinventing. There's so many things we just need to remember about our heritage, about where we come from. And by tapping into that, we find ourselves again. We find who we are. We're empowered. We're enlightened. And I would add this one thing that I want people to kind of keep in their minds. Where do quote unquote great nations like the United States come from? Rome, they say. I would submit Ghana, Mali, and Shanghai in a great kingdom of Kenya. They come from ideas. They come from our thoughts. They come from how we think. That's where these beautiful cultures and brilliant souls come from. They come from our thoughts. And so taking the time to nurture how we think and elevate it and cultivate it will lead us to creating things, innovations, technologies, all kinds of wonderful things. And above all, it'll help us treat one another better. We'll be kinder. We'll love our children more. We'll take care of our African fathers who take care of our African mothers. It'll be beautiful. And thank you for the opportunity to share.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Melissa. This is now the very tail end of our conversation today. I want to recognize Tutaleni Asino, my brother, who is from Namibia and is doing incredible work, as an educator and just an inspiring leader. Thank you for joining us today, Tutaleni. I'll reach out to you, and we will build. I hope South Africa is treating you well. And again, to all our viewers and listeners, thank you so much, Melissa. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and all the best with the fundraiser, with the crowdfunding fundraiser that is coming up. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.